I know technicalities are boring, but it's super important to understand your tools, even just a little bit. But the first thing you want to do is make sure you're up to date with the current version of Davinci Resolve. In order to do so, you're going to want to go to the top left under Davinci Resolve, check for updates, and as you can see, I'm up to date on the current version of 20.3.1. And to keep this video concise, I'll be distilling all the information that I found helpful, and I'm going to leave references in the description for those who may want to dive deeper into a particular subject. Now, if at any point you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. Now let's configure your project settings. Go to the bottom right to open up your project settings. Go to color management. Under color science, use Davinci YRGB. Timeline color space is going to be Davinci wide gamma intermediate. Output color space for Windows users is going to be Rec 709 gamma 2.4. But for Mac users, we're actually going to use Rec 709 scene. As a Mac user, I used to use Rec 709A, but according to Chadwick from Creative Video Tips, there's no need to use that tag anymore due to the recent update. Now, one last gem I want to share that I don't hear enough people talk about. Scroll down to lookup tables and change your 3D lookup table interpolation from trilinear, which is the default, to tetrahedral. In short, this is a more sophisticated way to interpolate your LUT information if you happen to use LUTs in your workflow, which I actually do, and I'll go over that a little later in the video. Then we're going to go to the three dots on the top right and hit set current settings as default preset. Then click update. Now, the beautiful thing about color grading is that it's an art and everyone's gonna have their own taste and style. But with that said, it's good to establish a repeatable system so you can 1, color grade faster, and 2, color grade consistently. I approach color grading in 2 parts, color correction and then color grading. The corrections make sure that I have a solid base of an image, and the grade is the stylization and final polish. To keep this simple, I start with 8 nodes and then I right click and hit clean up node graph. Now, starting on the first node, we're gonna go to the search button here and then type in color space transform. Go ahead and drag that in. On the output color space, hit D, and then this will take you to Davinci wide gamut. And then the output gamma, hit D one more time, it's gonna take you to Davinci intermediate. Then we're gonna hit Command C to copy and then paste this onto node number 7. After that, we hit the swap button, and then the output color space is gonna be Rec 709, and then the output gamma is gonna be Rec 709 as well. Now, going back to node 1, this is where we're gonna input your camera information. Now, for me personally, I shoot on the Sony a7S III, so my color space is gonna be the S gamut 3.cine, and then my gamma is gonna be S-Log 3. Now, skipping over to node 4, we're gonna right click, hit node label, and hit contrast. There's a concept that professional colorists on YouTube use that take the guesswork out of dialing in your contrast, and the concept is around middle gray. Stefan of Mononodes better explains this concept, but essentially set the anchor point of middle gray correctly and your contrast will just fall right into place. Taking a look at the Mononodes website, and we'll see that middle gray lands at 0.336 when working in Davinci wide color space. So we'll go to our primaries tab, go to pivot, and then type in 0.336. Now, when you adjust your contrast, it will work in a consistent and filmic way. As a starting point, I set my contrast to 1.3 to see if I need more or less contrast. And I like to work with contrast first because this quickly shows me a preview of what type of image I'm working with, whether I need to up the exposure, lower the exposure, or adjust my white balance. Now, moving on to the second node, we're gonna change this to exposure. And for exposure, I like to use the HDR tool, and then I dial in my exposure using this parameter right here. Now, typically how I shoot in S-Log is I overexpose and then I bring it down in post. So we're just gonna take this, and I think we're just gonna dial this down to right here. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Command D will turn this on and off. I think this is a really good starting point. Now, for this third node, we're gonna change this to WB or white balance. And for balancing, I also like to use the HDR wheels here, and I'll use this X parameter and this Y parameter here. Dragging the X parameter to the left will make your image more yellow or warm, and then dragging this to the right side will make it more cool or blue. Resetting that, taking the Y parameter, bringing this to the left will make it more green or teal, and then bringing this to the right will add more red or magenta. It doesn't look like I need to do much adjustment, if at all. And again, I want to emphasize in this first step, I'm not trying to stylize it. I just want everything to fall in a neutral and natural way, and then I'll go ahead and stylize this afterwards. But it's important to establish a neutral starting point. Moving over to node 5, we're going to change this to saturation. I've actually been really loving using the color slice tool right here. And over here, I can add saturation. I like to add maybe about 1.15. This adds saturation in a more linear way, and it just feels more filmic than this regular saturation. And then I like to tinker with these parameters down here. This slider will adjust the density of that hue, and it's more kind of affecting the luminance of that hue versus the saturation. So if I bring this up, it makes it darker or deeper. And if I bring this down, it makes it lighter and a little less saturated. Parameter on the right adjusts the saturation of that specific hue. And this is typically where I like to have things set. So if I was to go here and turn this on and off, you'll see that it does add some saturation without it feeling overly saturated. It still looks pretty natural, but again, dial this into taste. Now moving on to node 6, I typically leave this open to second adjustments. So in case I need to adjust a specific hue, or I want to add a vignette or anything like that, I can do that in this node. Let's say I want to make my skin more blue for whatever reason, I can do that in this node. But I only use this node when I need to. I don't try to overdo my grades. There's a concept called Occam's razor that I really like to abide by. And the idea of it is pretty much try to keep things simple. But now that we've created this node structure, we're gonna go ahead and make a power grade. And what this is gonna allow us to do is easily apply this node structure onto the rest of our clips. But before you do so, you wanna reset all of your parameters besides contrast and saturation. Then go to your power grade, right click on the image, and then grab still. So if I reset that, and then if I middle click, I can apply it, or I can drag the power grade onto the image itself and apply it that way, or you can just right click on that and hit apply grade. So we're gonna go ahead and do that adjustment to this clip one more time. This was, I believe, at -1.5, and then boom, we're at a good starting point. Now on this timeline, I have a series of clips that I've shot, and most of these clips are shot using a Sony camera, but I wanted to show you that this power grade works with any type of footage. I'm gonna show you how this works with the Insta360 X5 footage and using Apple Log 2 with my iPhone 17 Pro. And make sure to stick around to the end because I'm gonna show you how easy it is to match the iPhone 17 Pro with the Sony camera, or really just any other camera in general. So starting with this first clip, we're gonna apply the grade. Now I'm looking at this, it is looking a little green, so I might want to up this magenta right here. And then I also might want to add some warmth into the image. I also might bring the exposure down just a little bit just to make the shadows a little bit deeper, but I wouldn't do too much. Now, in the beginning, I did mention that I do use LUTs in my workflow. And I actually handcrafted a series of LUTs for myself because I wanted to take the guesswork out of my creative looks. So we'll go to node 8. We'll go to the LUTs tab over here. And I think for this one, I like to use the Kodak profile. So turning this off, I did adjust the white balance to be a little bit warm. But the nice thing about my Bodak, which is kind of emulating Kodak, it does add warmth without actually adjusting the temperature slider. And I like adding warmth this way because you're adjusting the warmthness of a specific hue range as opposed to just the overall image. With white balancing, like I said, this is more for corrective purposes as opposed to creative looks. So we'll see right here, this is what it looks like. Before and after, before and after. So moving on to the next one, looking at this shot, it was shot interior and at night. And it does look, I might have underexposed it a little bit. And also I did obviously shoot this way too warm, but just follow along and I'll show you how easy it is to neutralize all this stuff. So we're gonna start with the contrast. And obviously, like I just said, this was shot underexposed, but I wanna dial in my contrast just so I can see how high it can go or how low it can go. Now I know I needed to bring this up. I did bump this up 0.75 on the exposure. Now over on the white balance, you'll see when I turn this on, boom. It's just some simple adjustments over here using the X and the Y parameters and the white balance. So if I reset this, I'll show you how I balance it. So again, I start with the X axis. This deals with the warmth and the coolness. Going to the right makes it more cool. So I had it at about right here. This seems pretty neutral. I'm looking at this guy's shirt right here. But as you can see, this image is looking pretty purple. And if I continue to go to the right, it's not gonna help out at all. So we're gonna change this back to 0.05. And now we'll bring the Y parameter to the left to introduce more green into the shot. So we'll see right here that this is looking pretty solid to me right there. So this is the after the adjustment and this is before the adjustment. All the light has been neutralized. I can dial it back if I want to, but I like this look. I like it looking white and clean. And then we got to add the saturation back in as well. So that way it just adds that extra little bit of punch to it. Now for this particular shot, I thought it might be cool to use the secondary adjustment. This isn't a mall, and I thought it might be kind of cool to give it like fluorescent or like that matrix kind of vibe. So I turned this on, and all it really is in the primaries wheel, in the gain, I just introduced some more green. I didn't move the sliders like this. All I did was I brought this green and I boosted it just to introduce a bit more of that green into the image. I think Bomachrome would look really good on here. Although the Bomachrome does neutralize the green a bit, it still has the essence of that green in there. And because of the way this pipeline works, the LUT takes whatever information it gets fed and it just works with that. But then for here, it might seem a little bit clean, so I'll go to a second LUT and then go to Film Splice. And this is sort of emulating that Kodak 283 look. This is looking a little bit too intense for me, so I might just go back here and put it at 0.5. Boom, just those two LUTs right there make a huge difference, and nothing is breaking. You'll still see, even with these two LUTs applied, skin tones still look very natural and pleasing. Now I want to pause real quick to let you guys know I do have these LUTs available using the link in the description. That is the best way to support the channel. I put a lot of time in crafting these LUTs, and I really do stand by it and believe that they can really improve your workflow. I also will have this Powergrade available for free using the same link in the description. All right, let's get back to it. For this next sequence of clips, I've already imported the Powergrade, so we'll start with the contrast. Saturation, the exposure is way up. Again, you'll see that this is very yellow. So I've neutralized it with this look. I might even just make it a little bit more cool here. Even just this by itself looks really good. It's not like you need to do too much. And this is what I mean by trying to keep things simple. But if you do want to add some stylization, again, because we've used Butralize in the other shots just to kind of keep things consistent. So this right here, you'll see the greens are a little bit more warm. The shadows, there's no huge color cast in the shadows like you would see in maybe like the Kodak 2383. And it's still very complementary to the metal bike right here. And this is why I created these LUTs, so that way I can have the DNA of the look that I'm looking for, but then all I need to do is just correct the image underneath it, and then boom, the image just comes to life, and then I'm off to the races. Now moving on to the Insta360 X5. And this is the first clip that we're not shooting in S-Log3. So what you'll need to do is go to your first node and go to input color space, change that to Rec 709, input gamma to Rec 709. All we're doing is we're putting this from Rec 709 and putting it into Davinci wide gamut. Again, we're gonna go into the contrast and put this here. I did dial this back. Normally this was at 1.3. This is a little bit too baked in for this particular look, even though I did shoot in a flat profile. I don't really like it being this contrasty, so I think just a little bit goes a long way. Right there just kind of adds a little bit more punch to it without overdoing it. I think when using 360 cameras or action cameras or cell phones, you definitely want to be more on the subtle side, as they already have a lot of contrast and saturation already baked into the image. So we'll go over here to the saturation. But for this one, I thought it might be good to kind of bring down the exposure. And with these types of cameras, they do sort of tend to overexpose. Now for this particular shot, I think it might be good to use Vision. And this LUT, as you can see, neutralizes some of the blues. And then also on here, I thought it would be cool to add that 2383 Film Splice emulation. So then it really brings back the blues in the shot and adds some blues in the shadows here. And as you can see in my shorts, it's just this nice hue of navy blue. Playing this forward, everything still looks pretty good. This is an Insta360 camera, so we are working with 8-bit footage, but as you can see, nothing is really breaking. I don't know what it looks like for you guys on YouTube, but yeah, this looks pretty good. Now moving on to these two clips. Here I wanted to do two things. I wanted to showcase how I can quickly and easily balance two separate cameras together. But then two, I wanted to showcase, I mean, if you've been watching my channel, I've been shooting a lot of stuff on my iPhone 17 Pro. And I want to show you that this camera with this workflow can really be a good, like, you know, A camera or even a B, C, or D camera if you have other cameras that you like to use. But this thing is a very powerful tool. So let's get started. We have the Sony a7S III on the right, and we have the iPhone 17 Pro here on the left. We're gonna start with the Sony footage. So again, we're gonna add the contrast in. We're gonna add the saturation in. Now for this one, I felt like I was a bit overexposed, so I brought this down. And then I did feel like this was a little on the cooler side, so I did warm this up. And yeah, this looks very natural to me. All right, moving over to the Apple log footage. If we go to the CST in, you'll see that my color space is Apple log 2, input gamma Apple log. Again, you want to change this per camera. Then we're going to go to contrast, add that in first, turn on the saturation, and then here again we did overexpose this quite a bit. Go to the exposure, Come down here, let's see, it's probably around there, I wanna say. Go to the white balance node. This is still on the cooler side, so we're gonna bring this over to the left. And you'll notice that the skin is looking a bit different here. So I'll go to the secondary adjustment, and then I will go ahead and bring this slider just slightly over. Right here is looking pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. They're looking pretty good to me. There's no crazy adjustments that I had to do. I'm just using all the built-in tools here in Davinci, and I got these cameras to look very close to each other. So this is the power of the iPhone 17 Pro, but then also the simplicity of this Powergrade. And lastly, the reason why this has improved the efficiency of my workflow is that now that I have it all balanced, these LUTs that I created for myself are gonna work exactly the same. So here on the right for the Sony, I'm using Benistil, and then over on the left for this iPhone 17 Pro, I'm also using Benistil. These LUTs were crafted that if you feed it pretty much the same image, it's gonna spit out the same result. And also if you look at the waveform, the white points are hitting at exactly the same spot. You'll see that my blacks are still nice and preserved. So that's pretty much how I color grade all of my videos and how I made the color grading process more efficient for me. And I hope this makes it more efficient for you. In the next video, I do plan on going over film emulation. So that's like halation, film grain, bloom, and all that. So get subscribed and stay tuned for that one. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for making it to the end. Make sure to hit that like button. Drop a comment on which shot or LUT you think you enjoyed the most. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.